What is going on, my Atomic Cycle Works friends? Today we're going to be customizing a backrest. So I've noticed that with our videos, people have been reaching out and asking us questions. Some people want us to say, show modifying the rear of a motorcycle seat, modifying the seat pan, backrest, and some different things. So we're going to kind of walk you through those. So if you're interested in this stuff, please make sure to follow our channel and you'll see step by step how to do stuff in all different stages. So let's get going. First thing we got to do, here's the backrest. Now, the original seat that we did for this customer had a brown imitation leather, heavy grain in the center and then on the top. So we're actually going to mimic that seat, and I'll see if I can find a picture of it and I'll kind of put it in here. So what I'm going to do first is we need to look at this piece and say we have to take all the pieces apart because we're going to pattern off this. The customer wants this exact pattern, except for we're going to put that circle piece in there. He needs an eyelet because he has to get to be able to adjust the actual backrest position. So what I'm going to do before we get going is we have to mark the seat so we know exactly when we pull it off where we're going to sew what piece to. If you imagine you have this front piece here, has to get sewn to this top piece here. So what we do is we're going to look at the front piece, this top piece, the back piece, and you want to see this has a top stitch here, a single top stitch, right? So you got a butt seam, then you flap it over and put a top stitch. So I want to label that top stitch. So this way we know that it goes there, right? Now we want to label the seat. So this is the back of the seat. So I'm going to put rear. I'm going to put top. We're going to put middle because this is the middle of the seat. And this is the right side when you're sitting on the bike, right, left seat. Now I want to go through and put some alignment marks in here. So I'll put some marks here. A lot of times when you pull these seat covers apart and we cut them out, there's alignment marks already on there from the factory, but you don't know until you pull it apart or take the cover off. And it's a lot easier to mark these things and go over it before you pull it apart. So I'm just going to go through and I'm going to put all these marks in here, and you always want them different. You never want to get into the habit of doing like 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, because then what ends up happening is you'll pull your pieces apart and it'll look like the same pattern and you are same repetition, and you don't want to do that too, because you'll sew the other pieces on wrong. Sorry, I'm a little rushed. I got to calm down. We've been having one of those busy weeks. I'm going to put here stop for the top stitch, stop for the backrest slap. Now I'm going to actually mark across here, even though this isn't a mark that we're going to be using, it just is a reference. And we can put some marks on here so that we know that these line up to each other. And I will show you that in a second, keeping them always different. This is the right, left, middle, bottom. Then I'm going to put right, left. And so what's funny about this one is, this is kind of a good example. So what they did is they wanted this to be baggy to have a little bit more room. So they just did a fold, and we'll show you how you do that as we go. So I'm just going to mark here and put fold, and mark here and put fold. Do some of our lines so we know which side goes to what and make them different. Now this is also a separate piece, so we're going to do right side here, left side here, up, bottom. We're going to do top stitch because there's a top stitch that goes around here. We want to make sure that we mark these together. 1, 2, 1, 2. And we'll do 1. So now those are all marked, and we're going to flip it over here. We want to do left side, top, right side. Now it seems like a waste a lot of times. I'll go through all this effort and put this many markings in here. But the more you do, the easier it will be when you get everything apart, and I'll show you all that. I just went and took some pictures front and back just so I have reference points. I've done a lot of these, so they usually go together pretty easy, but it's always best to have reference points. I also did a center line, marked half my circle, and what we're going to do is I'm just going to use this as a pattern and do a mirror image of it. So now we got to take the seat apart. So you could actually just go through and pull everything apart with the stapler remover, take everything apart. I just said that. And then take it apart afterwards. I'm actually going to start taking this apart here. I kind of like when it has a little bit of pressure on it, and you could actually just start dismantling it. So all you do is you want to just get, I use a razor blade. You could use a seam ripper. You've heard me say that before. And you just pull, you spread these apart and just touch the threads, and it comes apart. You always have to be careful. If you are an idiot and you're accident prone, don't use sharp objects, you know. So I'm just going to go through and do all this. One thing I did want to say while I'm doing this is, for any of you who follow our channels and know that we have a podcast on our Atomic Auto Works channel, it's called In the Shop. We were putting some videos together, like motorcycle content, on our automotive channel, which I really don't want to do. There is a little rollover where there's shops and people who do both. So what we're going to do is post them on one channel and then also share them on the other channel. However, if it's an all motorcycle related podcast, the video version of it is just going to be on our Atomic Cycle Works channel. So there are first videos that are on our podcast playlist are actually from our Atomic Auto Works channel, but our newest and latest video is actually strictly motorcycles, and that was Jack from Motorsports Nation. So please make sure to watch that. So if you go to our YouTube channel, which you're probably there now, click on it, you'll see a playlist, and those playlists are basically like TV channels. So you could click on them. If you want to see how to, you click how to. You want to see our podcast, you click on podcast. If you want to see anything else on there related, just click on that. It'll go to that like its own channel. So let's pull these apart. I just cut all the pieces off, and I actually set them exactly the way they go together, because it gets very confusing when there's a lot of pieces, and this way you know exactly what goes where, and now you can just kind of pick. Some people, when they get things pulled apart, they get overwhelmed because there's so many pieces. This way, all you have to do is just duplicate these, put them exactly where they go, and things go a little bit smoother if you take it step by step instead of getting overwhelmed. For this one here that I told you we wanted to make the circle, I took this design here that I liked, and I simply just folded it in half, traced it, and now we'll cut it out. And well, actually, first we're going to put some marks on it so we have all of our alignment marks. Now we can cut it. And again, if you see any tools or anything that we're using that you want to know where to get them or purchase them, we try to put a link in the description of all of our videos. And also, if you can't find it in the link in the description, you can go to our website, atomiccycleworksgarage.com, click on copycat link, and that will bring you down and show you our tools, equipment, shop supplies, everything that we use, and places you could buy them. All right, so we have this all done. I want to put front. We have left and right. So now these are ready to trace. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pattern these onto the brown first, seeing as we only have two pieces that need to be brown. We got this guy and this guy here. Kind of working in the corner of this table, so it's a little messy. Okay, this one and this one. So I'm going to start with this guy first. So now, because we just took this original pattern and cut it, if we were to just mimic these patterns, you always want to put on there, add your seam allowance. Our seam allowance we use is 3/8 of an inch. So I want to mark plus 3/8 so I know to add that, because if you cut this out and pattern off, and then cut this out and pattern off, and then sew them together, your seat cover is going to be 3/4 of an inch shorter. So you got to make sure you add that seam allowance. So we just did. And now I'm going to trace this out. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do a mirror image of it with the brown, even though I did it with this one. Make sure to put your alignment marks and hashes in there, which we did. And now I want to add my 3/8 of an inch. Okay, so we got that, center. I could cut out this side now that it has our seam allowance in it. Make sure to mark our center points, because we're going to fold it. We want those exact. Now we're just going to take this piece, fold it in half, bada boom. I just did something here which I want to show you. It's pretty common. When you fold them in half, sometimes you'll know if you're off if you don't have a nice radius. And so you can kind of see it. It's not severe, but you can see as it comes to here, it's not a nice radius. So when it was folded in half, I must have had it a little bit to one way or the other by about a small, yeah, I can see it right there. Literally it moved less than a 1/16 of an inch. So I just want to mark that. and trim that, because the better your patterns are cut, the easier it is to sew it. Now we can look at that. Make sure it's exact, and I kind of cut through my center. Now we have the centerpiece here, so we'll put that exactly where it goes. Bada boom, bada boom. We've got our eyelets over here. And now this is the band that goes around the top, which is going to be brown. So you want to position this. Obviously, whenever you do this, you want the most yield of material. So you want to place this where you're not going to waste the most of the material. And that's going to be right here. And you could weigh these things down if you want, so they don't move around, kind of like my last one did. I like to use some of the yardsticks and things, because when you push it on there, it kind of flattens it out. And I got to actually move it over a smidge. And then we'll do this here. This here, where the seats meet together, it's very easy to have this too long or too short. And this actually is for the material that comes around and meets here. And there's a seam there. Very easy to make it too short or too long. So what I always do is mark it. And I always leave them a little long and trim them when I get to it. I'm putting all my alignment marks in here. This is flattened out. Mark it, and then we're just gonna leave it long and put on there long, so you know that you have to trim it. Now we're gonna move to here, make sure we don't move this. We are gonna do our 3/8 of an inch center, make sure all lines are in it. 1, 2, 3, we're in it. So the 3/8 of an inch, you could mark it. You measure every single line. I usually just have a piece of actual little piece of cardboard that's the exact size, and I usually run that down and trace it. So I'm gonna put all our marks in here. That's that. So now what I'm gonna do, because I know this is supposed to be symmetrical, is the same thing we did on the other side. I wanna make sure, because we're about to cut this, that all of our hash marks are on the piece that we're gonna be cutting out need. So now we can literally just cut this. Forgot to mark the center point over there. We're going to do that. Get this exactly back where it goes. Make sure everything's perfect. Everything's lined up. Center point. The center is super important. So I'm just going to go just past it. We're going to notch it and notch it. Right, bada boom, fold it in half. And if everything's good and our lines are lined up, and when this is in half, we'll look like we know what we're doing. And this is a good way to know if the seat is supposed to be symmetrical or not. This is actually not. It's kind of off, and I want to see how far off and why. Okay, so because I know what we're doing is symmetrical, I'm going with our lines and not their lines. It's off a little bit on this one corner here. And I know ours is not off, so we're just going to go right by ours. We have this piece is the outer band that we need. That piece, and the rest are going to be black to match his original one. So really the only confusing part we have left is we're going to have to put an eyelet in it, which shouldn't be a big deal. One piece at a time. You got to look at your pieces, what you're doing. This piece actually has 2 pull tabs in there, so I want to make sure we pull those out and duplicate those. And then this one has a fold and sew because it has a top stitch on the bottom, so it looks pretty. So we're going to cut this threads out because we want to have this roll out. Bada boom. Make sure we put fold, sew, top stitch. We're going to lay this guy right here, and same as the rest. We're going to pattern these out, and I'm just going to go through and trace the rest of these out, and we'll jump back in a second. Before I finish up, I wanted to show you this little guy here. So a lot of people freak out when you get these little pleated things where you have to actually fold them. So if you look on the back side here, you can see they're actually folded over. And the way you do that, it's simple. I don't know why people freak out about it. I always just like to mark where my pleated piece is, right? And you cut your stitches. And then you unfold it, and you can see here, I'll draw it out. So now you can see the V, and that one just gets folded on here, right? So now you can just mark it. You got a V here, a little alignment pin here, alignment pin here. And you want to put top. And sometimes I'll put a little arrow, boom, so it goes that way. And then we'll do the same thing here. We're going to put my mark here. Now, sometimes what's a good trick too is, because some seats you do it, there's a lot. And sometimes you're not doing them all in one day. So what you could do is you could unfold this and then leave this one folded, right? Just leave this piece folded. You got your piece pattern, and then, you know, go over to your machine and kind of look at it as you go if you forget, or you could take a picture of it. Depends on how confused you get. And like I said, a lot of people get really worked up over that little thing, and it's pretty easy once you just do a few of them. This is like if you were to do home upholstery, that type of stuff is so common. Like so many pillows and cushions are pleated like that, curtains. It's just a very common thing in the upholstery world. You don't really see a lot of it in automotive. If you're doing conversion vans and stuff like that, especially older stuff, you do see that quite a bit. Then we're going to mark where our eyelet is. Make sure we put all of our alignment pins in there so we know this is here. And then we're going to do top with an arrow. We're going to do top with an arrow so I know. Let me mark my center too, just so that's there. C, and transfer all of my hashes to make sure they're completely on the piece that we're cutting off. A lot of times people will put the hashes on there and then they will cut the pattern out like this, and they'll be on the wrong side, and you don't want that. So now that this is done, we're gonna, actually I think I got the tools here. Oh, I got everything here but the hole punch. See if we could do this. So we have a hole punch to punch these holes out for those here, but I'm gonna see if we can just do this here. I brought everything here, and with my bum knee I don't feel like walking up and down stairs. So here's our eyelet. These ones we just grabbed from Tandy Leather. We have one that's probably about 10-15 minutes from here, so I like going there. People are cool. It's neat to talk to other people that do your same trade. And if you're lucky enough, if you have a knowledgeable store, like employee there, they can give you some tips and tricks and all that stuff. So what I'm just gonna do, I don't feel like going downstairs to get it. I'm gonna just cut this out here. And the hole punch makes your life a lot easier than this hacked up mess. But there we go. I got that through. Little toolkit here. Now you just want to put your eyelet. It actually has a groove in it for it to sit down. You just want to make sure that sits in there relaxed. You don't want to force it. Then we're going to take this tool here, and this is just going to peen it over. A little bit more. That peened it over. Looks good. It's not smashed on that side. Make sure it doesn't come out. Actually, this one looks like shit, so we're going to do a different one. Get out of here. Messing up my day. Eyelet. Holy cow, I can't get an eyelet out. Relaxed, relaxed. Now that did it. Perfect. Okay. Eyelet's in there, so we're good to go. Problem averted, crisis averted. So now the next step, we can start sewing this together. Let me clean up my mess here, So this goes here, just like so. That goes there, just like so. All right, so I just grabbed a bunch of the pieces that we already patterned out, and I'm just gonna go through and sew some together. So like this one here, I know we gotta put the back on it for our pull-through tabs. Forgot to mark this one, but I know it's center to center. Boom. So I'm just gonna put a stitch across here. Okay, now that the machine's threaded, we're just gonna do a little stitch right on the edge of this one. So because the only reason we're putting this piece on or sewing it now is because you want them sandwiched together. So I want to make sure I sew right on the edge of this. You don't want to. Oh, I got my thread. What is going on here? Look at that. Danger, Will Robinson. What is going on? This is what happens when something's wrong. Look at that. No good threads, Fred. What do we got going on here? Something's not right. Something's not right. Looks pretty right to me. That goes through there, through there, through there, through there, through there. That's all good in the hood. That's good. That's weird. Huh. Let's see if that fixes it. Now, let's start over. Let's get rid of all of our mess we just made. So, when you're sewing sometimes, if you miss a thread through the machine, which we didn't, or sometimes you just start off weird, it's like you lose timing, the machine doesn't want to work, and you end up with a mess. Luckily, it happened when we're doing the edge pieces here that don't matter, because we're going to be sewing right on the edge, and that's under the seat. That's going to be behind the salvage. I'm supposed to have this ready for UPS today. So I'm going to call the customer and let them know, or email and let them know it's going to be tomorrow. Okay, let's try this out again. Right on the edge. And that works a little better. Except for the stragglers I got left there, which we just cut those. So that's here. That's good. This one here. One thing I didn't show you, these are a fold and sew. So we got to actually fold it and sew it. So what you got to do is you mark where the fold is, and I mark where the stitch is going to be. So then you can just fold it over and follow it. Bada boom, bada boom. Right? Yes. Man, I am shooting bad here. Oh, actually, that's weird. This thread doesn't look that great. Let's fix that. Let's start over. I think thread might have pulled weird and chafed. You know, that chafing threads. Ooh, we got some old school country music playing in the background. You guys can't hear it probably. If you could, we'd get demonetized. All right, let's try this again. We are not doing good on this seat today, huh? Everything we do, we get messed up. Fold and sew. So all I did is marked my fold, ran down it. Now we got a nice top stitch there. That piece could go there. Here's the piece with the edges. So what we're going to do is we're just going to pinch it and go bada boom. Stick this one right on top of that one, right? Now we'll just go right across it. And then we're going to go this one here, pinch, and pinch it on top of this one. Hold it there. So now we have successfully put these two little pleats in here. So now this piece, to get sewn to this piece, which we'll just do that, we got our marks, our 3 lines there, bada boom, bada boom, bada boom, right to the edge. That looks good. Do, 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 do. I love old country music sometimes. Come on, baby, line up, and how do we do? How do we do? Okay, we got our 2 little pleats in there. So that'll give us room to flap. Perfect. Now we can put this guy down here. Right there, and right there. So funny. This is supposed to be today's country hits, and now it's playing like a hip-hop song. So. Make sure our lines line up without stretching the material. You hear me say if you're sewing, you have to stretch it. If you have to pull one to line your alignment pins up, you're not doing good because you're going to have a very puckery seat. And nobody wants a puckery seat. It goes down there, that goes down there. This one is a fold and sew, but I think we do it afterwards, yes. Oh no, this was buttoning together, so we're going to do a fold and sew here. So sometimes you actually, like if you're doing a shift boot cover in a car, you'll actually sew all your pieces around the whole circle and then fold it and sew it and do a top stitch on there. But this one here, has you do the top stitch first and then you sew the sides. So we don't have to worry about that. And then now this here goes to here, bada boom, just like that. So technically, we could just sew this little thing right here. Actually, I think I'm missing a piece. I am. Hold on one second. I almost forgot. This piece goes on top. So what happens is this is the way you access to staple the seat cover onto this backrest. This piece actually has a piece behind it that gets sewn on as well. And this is the piece that you staple the material to. So we want to make sure that we have that on. So I am going to line this up. Same as before, we're going to stitch just on the edge of this material. We don't want to go in too far. Because if you go in too far, when you go to, after you do your butt seam, it's possible that you're going to see stitching. And you definitely don't want that. So this is on here. I can't wait to buy new sewing machines. I cannot wait to buy new sewing machines. This goes to here. I'm just going to sew this on here. On the edge, same thing, just on the edge. I am living on the edge. And then this one here, we want to line up with our lines. Make sure it's soft and we're not stretching it and pulling it or doing anything weird. So this one here, I cut. It should have been round and I didn't round it, but now it is. All right, now we got the back. Bada boom. So the back's ready. Let's trim this little off. Let's do the front here. So the front, I'm just going to start from the center and work my way out instead of going all the way around. Come on, baby. Just going, as I'm going, I'm just making sure everything lines up. Because if everything lines up, when you get to the end, everything looks perfect. Muy perfecte. No, I don't know. I can't speak Spanish. Don't break a thread, Fred. Now, we gotta do a top stitch. Almost forgot the top stitch. Top stitch goes on the brown on this one. So we want black thread on the brown material. So we're just gonna do that. Get it started. When you do your top stitch, you just wanna make sure everything's relaxed. I like to pull my material, spread it apart so I can see the stitch. And then you can just follow your edge. Do. What's funny, when we were doing this, the customer could not figure out if he wanted this brown in here. I think he's worried that was going to be too much, but I had suggested keeping the backrest, the rear backrest, the same as, oh, I just ran out of bobbin thread. All right, see, talking. I am horrible at talking and working at the same time. So I'm going to cut this, see? Now we stopped here. We have these holes here. So we could redo this whole thing, or we could just take our time to go through and put, make sure we sew through each hole. And that's what we're going to do. If you watch my videos, I screw up all the time, and I show you how to fix it. A lot of people don't want you to see that. They want you to think they're a hero, and nothing ever goes wrong. Me, I don't really give a crap. Okay, so I'm tying this off, the thread that we stopped. And the one good thing about these machines is you could just pick right up where you left off and just keep sewing. That's what we're going to do. We're going to wind the bobbin. Let me just trim this, get this trimmed. Boom. Our ones that we started before. Get rid of here, get out of here. Okay, so now, okay, let me pull the thread through. Bada boom, we need the bobbin, casing, housing, bobbin, whatever you call it. This thing goes here. Bada boom. That's how you wind the bobbin. We're going to go through here, go down through the hole, or around the tensioner. If I can see it, I can't see it. Around the tensioner, back up through the hole, and we're going to take it through our bobbin. Around and around the bobbin, through the hole, coming out, bada boom. Make sure it's through there. Don't do what I just did. I got that. This is up, bada boom. Now when we come back, we're going to start in this exact hole we stopped in. And then we have to make sure our thread goes in every single hole that we created. And luckily there's only about 15, 20 of them. So now, put this back here. Grab this here. All right, I'm gonna have to edit all that blank time out. All right, so now I want to take this, go under here, and I gotta have that thread, the needle, go exactly in the hole where we left off. So we did that, and now we're just gonna walk it, right? Walk it off. We want to go right into the next one. Why is this loose? Make sure we go into that hole, right? And into the next hole. Then into the next hole. And then right around. Make sure that this is flat around the corner. Boom, 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 boom. Inspect our work. Make sure we didn't miss any holes, which we didn't. Now we're past the holes. Keep that material spread. If you don't spread the material apart, like I was saying before I rudely interrupted myself, if you don't spread the material apart, a lot of times what happens is the material could roll up on top of itself, and then you stitch it, and it kind of looks like it's supposed to be like a top stitch, but it's actually the material's over far, and then your pattern's all messed up, and it's a whole bunch of bad shenanigans. Okay, so here we are. I just tugged on this one to pull up the bottom one, tug on the bottom thread to pull up the top thread. Now I'm just going to tie a knot. We're going to make sure that our hole, sometimes you got to be careful, because sometimes when you pull the thread, I should have checked before I just tied it off, but sometimes when you pull the thread, you're actually not in the hole that you started and pulled through. Luckily, we're good. Okay, so we got that. So now we could do this guy right here. I don't know why that has that little, I must have missed a tiny sliver. All right. So now we have here, 3, 2, perfect. So this one goes here. So on these pieces here, I showed you, I left them long, and I'm going to show you why. Where's the center? Here is the center, and now we're going to pull this, and this is the center, and we need 3/8 of an inch for salvage. So I'm going to cut it a little bit long, and then now I'm just going to actually leave this one here, and we're going to go do the other side. We're going to bring it to a point, and I'll show you, because I don't know, could be just because I suck at this, but there's with all the different materials and things stretching, and then when you're working with other people and they're doing patterning and you're doing patterning, and you want to be safe. You don't want to get through and do this whole seat and then find out that this was a little bit shy, and if you had just left it long and trimmed it, you could be done with it. So I'm going to go through and see where this one falls. All right. So this is like point in case. This is like an anomaly here. I'm going to mark this and show you. Right there, and this is going to be 3/8 here. So we went by their pattern, and obviously when I did their pattern, I went by our pattern. Their pattern was a little different. It hooked down, and I don't know why you would do something hooked down. Usually when that happens is because the seat's been, the seat's cover was stretched out, and it's just kind of came to a new form. But anyway, so now if you look here, these ones overlap, 3/8, 3/8. Everything is nice. There's no puckery thing. So what we're going to do is put these together. I got my mark there at the 3/8. I want to line those two up, 3/8. Same right there. Come on, man, I am just, it's getting constantly interrupted all the time when you're working. It's so stressful. You just want to get stuff done, and everybody's so nice, but it's just tiring because you have to get work done. And if you don't get work done, you get yelled at because you're behind, and then everybody wants to talk for a million hours, especially when it gets nice and sunny out, which is not yet. And then everybody gets up your butt because they want their cars and bikes instantly. All right, so now everything's relaxed and good. Everything's lined up. And there's a lot of times in upholstery, there's this weird, like things just don't jive. And it's, you know, there's so many factors that go into it. You know, if you cut your pattern a 1/16 of an inch bigger all the way around, that could add 3/4 of an inch to the overall girth of the seat. You know, if materials stretch at different stretches, then you could end up pulling or pushing or whatever. Whatever, man. Let's just get this seat done and stop talking. Okay, here we are. Top stitch coming up. Pulling it. Whenever you're going around corners, you want to make sure your upholstery material, your cover is flat. Nothing's folded over. It's so easy to have a piece of material fold over or under, or get a little overzealous and crack the throttle on the sewing machine and just run through it. So you got to really go slow. Slow and steady wins the race. You know what I mean? Once you get on the flat, it's easy. It's the corners that are always a little bit challenging, and some are more challenging than others. This is not a very challenging seat cover, but some people have a tendency to make things more challenging than they need to be. All right, so now we got the face of the seat done. We have the top stitch on it. We are going to trim the selvage off of this one. You see how puckery it is? Bada boom, bada bang. You could cut a million V's in there, but we're just going to snip it and run. Now, this here, I messed up. How many times could I mess up on one seat? I knew it too. This was supposed to go there. Oh no, actually, this isn't. No, wait, hold on a second. I didn't mess up. No, I just forgot to fold and sew it. We're good. We are good here. 3-3. I did not mess up. See that? I thought I messed up, which might as well be a mess up. This is a tiny bit bigger, but I can see it was my mark there. I didn't trim on the mark. Now I did. So I saw this here, and I thought I put a top stitch on it, but it's actually just a flapper. Now let's put the fold with the top stitch here. So that's right there. This goes here. Bada boom, right? Now that that's done, we can put this on the front of this, right? Center it, work our way down here. Before we get going, let's make sure this is going to be in the right place. So far, so good. In the hood, everything's lined up like it should. Now, there's a couple things I don't like about this. So when you fold that over, that's tiny bit. It's actually not too bad. And that looked worse than it was. Crisis averted. Okay, now center to center. Let's get this thing done. Again, if you see me sew, I sew wrong. I do everything wrong. Start from the center, work my way out. You never want to do that. You want to cut your V's, trust your patterns, and go in a circle. I just hate when you look at a motorcycle seat or anything, and you start here, and you start sewing by here, and by the time you get to the top center, if you're a 1/16 of an inch off, the radius of that seat looks like shit. I hate that. So I always start from the center, work my way out. Sometimes if you're doing a French seam or something like that, you can't, but for the most part, if I can, I do. It's a cheat. Do what I say, not what I do. I feel like I repeat myself, but most of the people that watch our videos come new and watch it. So I have to sometimes repeat myself, so new viewers know what the hell I'm talking about. And here we are, coming around the corner. Is this going to do it? Are we going to be able to line this son of a gun up? If we do, I will be happy. If I don't, I'll be happy as well, because I'm a happy person. And that was a lot of pieces to sew together and have line up. Although I should have kept my mouth shut, because I still got to do the other side now. And once I do that other side, seat cover can go on, bada bing, bada bing, bada bing, bada boom, gone. Gone, 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 send it. All right, lay this baby flat, relaxed, no pressure. We're gonna go put this thing together. Get her out of here, man. Get her done, son. This side. I want to keep my mouth shut. I don't want to jinx myself. Right? Nothing's folded over or under. Nothing folded under or under. That made it to there. This is going to be very close, within a 1/16 of an inch. You know what they say. About a 1/16 of an inch. It's a deal breaker. And that lined up. What are you doing lining up on me? You're not supposed to line up. After everything I did wrong, all the mistakes I made, it still lines up. That's crazy. All right, so let's do a little snip snip here. Snip snip here. I go get the other scissors. We're going to snip some of our salvage off. All this stuff to try to keep some puckers out. Then we're going to put this bad boy together, heat it up, and see if it works. Right? What's that? Ah! You know the best part of when you get to this point, and well, not yet, when the seat cover goes on and it looks good, throwing all the old stuff away, cleaning up, starting fresh. So let's snippity snip snip. And this is where you don't want to mess up. You do not want to hit a thread, and you do not want to go through the other side. I only mess up usually like that on major stuff. I remember doing alligator seats, stingray seats, and you can't really afford, you know, it's not like you make a lot of money off these seats, and you can't really afford to take a stingray or an alligator hide, mess up and buy another one, because you're not only not making money, but it's costing you money. And that's usually when I mess up. Put my patterns on backwards and sew them together. It's always go big or go home. That one's good. Let's do this guy right here. Fail big or go home. You know what's funny when you're doing these videos? You really hope that people don't know what the hell they're doing or not watch it. You hope that people that know what they're doing don't watch it, because they're probably like, this guy's an idiot. All right, snippity snip snip. Still don't like this. It still seems bumpy to me, but we're cutting too close to the threads. Now, we turn this thing inside out, right side in, inside out. How do we do that? Let's try this way. Boom, 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 boom. Let's take a look, which I should have looked at it before I started snipping stuff. That was dumb, but sometimes you get a little overconfident with yourself, and you think, hey, what could go wrong? What could go wrong? Well, a lot could go wrong. And nobody wants to redo this stuff. Now let's take a little test run here before we go down and heat it up and try to put it together. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do. Come on, baby. Are you too good for your home? Get in there. Backrests sometimes suck, and headrests sometimes suck. Headrests sometimes are foam, so you could squish them. Well, they're more foam, so you could squish them down, vacuum them. Bike backrests usually have a hard plastic, so you can't really squish them that well. But once we get close, then it's just move it around. Move it or lose it, toots. We have to heat it up. Heat it, pull it, and staple it, which is next. That was a little access hole here. Perfect. We'll make sure that that lines up. We got to go downstairs now for the finale. The finale. Is this going to work? Is this not going to work? Get the salvage in the right direction. Let's get it heated up. Let's go try it. All right, we are on the home stretch now. Let's get these together. I got to clean up my workbench. If anybody likes trucks, you could go to our Atomic Truck Works channel. We're actually going to be doing door panels upholstery. We're restoring I point to it like you can see it. We're restoring a 2001 Ram 2500. But back to the seat. Let's get this baby hot. We always have our heat gun going. We're going to warm it up, see if we get any of the little wobbles out of there. Remember, when you're heating it, if it's too hot for your hand, it's too hot for the vinyl. Like a broken record. In all of our videos, I repeat myself. And I'm just heating it, trying to move it around, relaxing the material. Whenever you do circles, sometimes they're a little bit of a pain because they want to pucker even when you don't stretch them. And especially if they're dissimilar materials. So when you have like a harder material versus with the stretchier material, sometimes it kind of does this little thing. Okay, so I'm just going to warm up the back here, make sure our things line up. Okay, so that goes there. So this has to be pulled up here. There's actually a little sharp staple I didn't pull. I'm going to warm this back area up nice here. Going to get this all warm. I'm going to pick one area to align. A lot of times in upholstery, sometimes you'll staple things together, then you'll have to take the staples out. Part of being a good at upholstery is knowing stuff like to put the staples at the edge here in case you have to adjust stuff. I apologize for how long this video was, and the compressor's not on. So on this cover here, I decided to leave the salvage on there and use it to give it a nice crisp edge around the top. So I'm just going to heat this and move it around. We want to try to get, so you can still see there's like a little pucker here. So I want to get it warm. We're just going to kind of massage it. I just want to get that out. So a lot of times you'll see little bumps in there, and a lot of it's just because of the sewing. When you're going around corners, the machine has a tendency to walk and pull the material. So you can very easily get a little pucker there or something, which this one's coming out with a little bit of heat. A little bit of heat and finesse. And we got a little string here. And just like that, we did a backrest. Oh, and you can see the back here, it's with the eyelet that we put in there, there's actually the adjustment right through there. So now I'm just gonna clean this up and ship her out.